Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Wood Elves because I've been thinking about them a fair bit, mostly because they are one of the only factions I still haven't completed for Warhammer 3 to 100% the full game. And there's a reason for that. Their campaign is just plain awful. You see, the Wood Elves were pretty decent in Warhammer 1 when the map was tiny. They were atrocious in Warhammer 2 until they finally got a nice rework, but now Warhammer 3 is here, and the problem arises again. The map is too big, and the campaign is too boring for the Wood Elves. Now, I'm not saying that the Wood Elves need a full-blown DLC. I don't really think that they can justify that. There's not really a lot of missing content for the Wood Elves, although there are a few gems here and there, but I think a patch could actually solve a lot of the problems that the Wood Elves are currently having. Now, I wouldn't have given this a thought until very recently. Patch 6.3 did wonders for the Tomb Kings campaign, making them much more playable, much more enjoyable, and by extension a little bit of the Lizard Men too. So I'm thinking in the future we could get more patches like this, fixing up the races that just need a little bit of a push, more so than a full-blown rework. There are 4 playable legendary factions when it comes to the Wood Elves. Most of them, well, really all of them play near identically. There's not really a lot of difference here. Orion might be objectively the better one because as long as you've got enemies to declare with, you can actually just make your armies flat out free. Durfu just kind of buffs up Treekin units, which is nice. The Sisters are just focused on pretty much flying armies, and then Draika focuses more on tree men because her faction's kind of geared towards just having the tree spirits itself. Gameplay-wise, however, they are mostly identical, not really a lot of change there. And I think that's a big issue because the faction and the race as a whole is very one-trick pony, I guess, and it's just got the same endgame and gameplay loop. It's similar to how the Wars of Chaos work, where you've got 8 legendary lords instead of 4, and the mechanics are basically the same, only some slight differences, and the slight differences are mostly just who gets what. But I would argue that the Warriors of Chaos have an objectively better campaign because you're still focusing on going out and dealing damage and actually getting into warfare. Whereas the Wood Elves do have what is very much the most passive campaign in Total War Warhammer as a whole. And pretty much the gameplay loop for all 4 factions is you start off, you will either be in Athaloran or a little bit far away depending on your chosen lord. The 2 original lords will be in Athaloran and the other 2 are then separated, scattered throughout the world. Really not that far for Draika, to be honest. It's very much kill off some surrounding enemies. You're going to want to be able to take over some locations or get some alliances for it. These are just some basic smaller settlements. And then just allow that to kind of boost up the tree to be able to get your events going and so on and so forth. It's kind of limited there because it's just the small settlements around your main tree or your other trees. This means that there's no incentivization to push out. Sure, you might have to every now and then because you'll be dealing with Grom the Paunch or whatever, and you'll have to take those areas or destroy them at the very least. But in most cases you'll want to take them because if not, the NPCs will take them and that will reduce your forest health, blah 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 blah. It's just one of those things where you're taking a small area, you're taking surrounding settlements, and that's pretty much it. Sure, there's events with armies spawning in and stuff like that, but even then, it's mostly just built up for you to be able to confederate the other factions, because admittedly, yes, there is very good confederation mechanics when it comes to the Wood Elves, but that's pretty much it. But the gameplay loop just isn't exciting. This is from an old campaign. This is when I wanted to try and get the final achievement done, and yeah, I just couldn't get to it. I got really bored and I just clicked off. It's really funny how it's just the elves that I'm missing for the achievements to 100% the game. But I'm waiting for the DLC to launch so I can get the High Elves done, hoping that there's some changes there for the Dark Elves. The Wood Elves, I just have no proper incentive to get done. It's a really boring gameplay loop where you're just taking and holding, and it's not really just a standard hold, it's holding for a fair amount of time. Now, I'm not trying to rag on the Wood Elves as a race. Their roster is pretty good. They've got some of the better archers in the game. You've got a lot of fun stuff there. But just because the battles are great doesn't mean that the Wood Elves are fun to play around with. There needs to be a good campaign alongside it. And I don't think they need like a massive rework. However, a few updates could come in just to kind of fix up these problems. So let's talk about the problems fully. I'm going to start off with outposts. Basically, what isn't a magical forest, so your main settlements, is an outpost, and your outposts are awful. So throughout your game you will have a few outside your magical forest because they grant forest health, but you will also get a few outside of that, like this one on screen right now, which is where Grom the Paunch is. The problem is it's a really shitty settlement with no bonuses. Again, it's really the outpost system for the Warriors of Chaos too, but the Warriors of Chaos don't really use those because you're gifting the settlements away to allies. Here you're stuck with a tier 1 settlement with a frankly awful garrison, very limited bonuses towards your main stuff. In fact, the further you are away from the magical forest in question, well, there's just no benefits at all actually. You can barely recruit any of the good units. You're stuck there building up through global recruitment and wasting pretty much most of your income. There's something that needs to be done here. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to the original Kislev system, where you would be able to build up tier 3 settlements even in a provincial capital, and the idea there is just to build up like an extra forest, getting the forest expanding. I think that would be very, very useful, and at least give you some extra buildings to be able to go, hey, you know, here's a little bit of income. Maybe be able to recruit some better units, barring just basic archers and dryads. It doesn't have to be the full roster, and it doesn't have to be this massive thing. What it does need to be is just support for the magical forest. There needs to be a reason for the player to expand a little bit and give them some sort of bonus, rather than just, okay, you've taken the forest, you've taken like the nearby settlements, or you've gifted it to an ally so they're on the green. Now you wait, and wait, and wait. Your main magical forest settlements need to be improved a little bit with building slots. There are 9 building slots each time. I think it needs to be increased. So from a 10 slotter to a 12 slotter, so just 2 extra, because you have 14 different buildings. And this is just to benefit for you to be able to get as much as possible, because there are some special buildings. In most cases, you're going for the infrastructure buildings too. So you're already killing off around 4 slots from the very beginning. You might say, well, big deal, there's a bunch of magical forests. But the problem is that the magical forests themselves are incredibly limited. There's like 11 or 12 magical forests, most of them very far away from each other. So you won't be able to build up armies in specific areas if you're trying to kind of build up there really, really quickly. I think this just needs to be improved slightly. We do have some 12 slotters in game. A faction that is so incredibly limited from major settlements needs to have that size. I've tested the 12 slotter system with the mod, and really it works incredibly well. It doesn't really change up your playstyle. Nothing like that would change up your playstyle. In fact, it would just allow you to be able to pick up a bunch more heroes too. Remember, your heroes are tied to certain buildings, and if you can't build any more of those buildings, you're kinda screwed. It feels like limitation just for the sake of limitation, which is kinda disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna want to be able to have these magical forests built up. Same thing as you're gonna want some decent minor settlements, because again, player bias comes in, and if you're lacking on heroes, you're lacking on infrastructure, you are going to be absolutely destroyed. Considering that your magical forests are all over the place, can you defend all different locations? Should the Total War AI wake up and go, hang on a minute, you're a player, boom. Now, unlike the Tomb Kings, what needs to be done is a small mechanic for the factions in similar scope to that of the Warriors of Chaos, where it was kinda small, right? Now, the sisters have the Forge of Dave, so they're perfectly fine, and I'd argue that Dryka is also fine too. She's got the special type of Tree Lord, Tree Man, and so on, right? It's like the whole evil aspect, I guess, of the trees. But the 2 other lords need something just to incentivize people to play them, because people want some originality. Orion's got the Wild Hunt. It's an event that pops up every now and then, but like it feels like nothing, right? There needs to be a proper Wild Hunt mechanic. Hell, they could even just rework the Taurox, the Brass Bull mechanic, you know, the whole Rampage situation, because that's pretty much how it works. And just have that where you'll destroy a settlement, but you'll actually claim it and you move ahead, rather than the Beastmen version where it's just destroy it and actually destroy it. Give him a reason to go out and have him just constantly get into warfare. The idea is building up and just getting rid of everyone around, rather than the mechanic that pops up and then disappears just as quickly. And we know he can call for a Wild Hunt. It's actually something that we've been talking about recently in Warhammer the Old World, because Orion's active right now. There's a new Beastman character there, and he's really trying his best to find Morga. So Orion's going like, no, we need to stop this. And then lastly, Durfu. While I do think that he should remain tree spirit focused, I do think that he could have something kind of similar to the original Kislev mechanic. So the idea is getting a bar for Wood Elves and a bar for tree spirits and kind of building them up. Rather than working against each other, you can get bonuses, faction-wide bonuses. The idea is Durfu was actually the tree spirit who decided, yeah, you know, let's make the Children of Isha and the tree spirits work together. He was the one. I mean, he kind of regrets it a little bit, and you know, you can't blame him because Wood Elves. Elves in general have brought a lot of problems to the forest, but I think this could kind of work, get some faction-wide bonuses there. It's a small thing, but I think it just works, kind of like an Athaloran's Unity bar in a sense. The idea here is just something different to give you a push to get a different type of value, something very small, but it still works. Not every mechanic needs to be this large, bombastic thing, like, say, for example, the Chaos Dwarfs, right? And I think that works out. I know some people are going to be saying, well, what about the tech tree or whatever, right? No, the tech tree is fine. Honestly, the race as a whole is fine. Just some quality of life improvements can do wonders alongside, you know, the usual skill updates that we'd expect in a patch like this. And I mean, in a perfect world, the lore of Athaloran, that's still missing. Again, I really tried. Originally, I was going to title this video, Is There Enough for a Wood Elf DLC? And I might do that in the future. But right now, like, there is not a lot of stuff missing. Really, there's not. You can't justify a DLC just for a lore of magic. I just want the Wood Elves to feel a little bit better because I really find it tough to play their campaign. I find it very, very boring, which is really weird, right? Like, I do 200 to 400 turn campaigns. I love doing long form campaigns, but I can't bear it with the Wood Elves. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Maybe you've got some better ideas. Again, I'm just throwing some ideas out because you never know, Creative Assembly might be listening, and the idea is if we start talking about races that need help, then Creative Assembly will actually start to action that. So it's not just me, but like on the Reddit, on the forums, or whatever. It's always good to get that line of communication going. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I do apologize. I was going to release this video yesterday. Like, I've got a bunch of video ideas, so we're going to start going back into like the daily content stuff. The problem was, and I shit you not, right? There was a power cut for like 8 hours throughout the whole of Gibraltar. Seriously, the whole country went down. And that just, like, by the time that it was done, I couldn't get like the video out. Well, I couldn't finish the video. So yeah, fun times. So I'm dedicating all of today to just recording non-stop so I can enjoy myself when Dying Light the Beast releases and not have to panic about content not releasing and stuff like that. But yeah, have a great day, guys. See you all very soon.